incorporated so many just delicious fresh vegetables into the diet. I felt like I had kind of gotten into a rut as far as cooking.
Yeah.
I was basically, pasta every night.
Yeah.
Or, a handful of dishes and just rotate it out. And what I think I've taken away the most is I've stepped out of my comfort zone and I've become so much more creative with my food. I was just completely winging it. I didn't have a plan. I didn't have recipes. I didn't think about what I was going to do. I just opened up the fridge and I was like, what do I have today? And
so what were some of the things that you made?
I made lots of sweet potatoes. Baked sweet potatoes were my go-to. I really don't feel like cooking meat. Like, here's a quick done. And I did some sweet potato medallions with all kinds of green peppers and onions and vegetables sauteed on top, a little bit of cheese. That was really good. I do a lot of baking, and I was really surprised how well I was able to adapt to no flour.
What did you do? Because I think a lot of people found that really hard.
So I did some custards. I did a peaches and rum custard, which was really, really good. I did some blueberry and peach cobblers, and I just left out everything pretty much except for the and then I ground up some pecans with some powdered sugar and used that as a topping. And then I did lots of candies. So I did pralines and caramels, and I did macaroons, and I did meringue kisses. Lots of more egg based than no cupcakes, no brownies. But I was amazed by the end of the 30 days how little I was thinking about what I couldn't have. I feel like that first week was really the hardest because I kept thinking, oh my God, I want pasta, I want bread, I want chocolate, I want all these things that I can't have, and I was thinking about it. But once that first week passed, I just really got into the flow of just doing what I was doing with what I had.
Right.
And I just stopped thinking about it.
Right.
And there was a point last week where I actually stopped and I was like, I don't even know when was the last time I had bread. And I hadn't really thought about it. And that was pretty surprising to me.
Now, you were one of the people who kept a blog about what you were making, right? Do you normally have a blog, or was this something that you just started doing for this event?
I do. I have a baking blog that I had been working on, and then I had thought about, for a while I've been thinking about branching out and doing other things, but I wanted to keep the baking blog just baking. And so I decided to just do a personal blog where I could do whatever I felt like writing about. And so I do, a lot of costuming and crafting and whatever I feel like doing. And so I felt like that could be an outlet for that as well as the local blog. And going forward, I think I'll definitely still be incorporating lots of food in the blog. But that was kind of the outlet I created for this.
So, now that we're at the end of June, are there changes in the way you eat that you think that
I'll incorporate going
forward?
Yes, going forward, absolutely. My routine has changed, and the way I've been thinking about food has changed. And I don't think I'm gonna go back. I've had so much fun, and now going forward, it's just gonna be, okay, let's go to Holly Grove, get the box, what do we have? And everything else will just kind of supplement that. So I'll definitely be incorporating much more local food into my diet. Not to the extent that I have with these past 30 days, but definitely going forward, absolutely.
Now, why did you sign up for this originally? Were you a big local food eater to begin with?
No. I had talked about it, I I think at work with a friend, and we kind of laughed at it, like, who could do this? Oh my God, that's going to be so hard. And I didn't think about it, and then I think a couple days before the challenge, I looked at it again, and I was like, the Gulf Coast was such a bountiful area. We have so much going for us as far as food goes, and I really just took it as an experiment to see, okay, can you do this? And at home it's me and my husband, and I knew that he was not going to be interested in limiting himself to this. So it pretty much came down to what I cooked, and whatever limitations I had, I did. And then he could supplement whatever he wanted.
With whatever he wanted.
With whatever was in the fridge. So it was interesting when I first signed up and I told him, he was like, why would you want to do that? And I didn't really have an answer for him. I was just curious. I mean, that's really it. I wanted to see if I could do it, and I was really surprised how easy it was. Outside of that first week, it really was just an ingredient shift. Okay, well, I can't use that. What can I do instead?
And did it change the way that you spent your time and how you spent your money and where you shopped and things like that?
Definitely. I love to cook, and so I felt like, I cook all the time, but this month I definitely cooked a lot more. Because there wasn't, let's just go here and eat whatever, or pop this in the oven from a pre-prepared meal. I had to constantly be thinking about, okay, well, what do I have at home? What can we cook?
Right.
And as far as shopping wise, I love shopping at Rouse's.
Yeah.
And I thought they were fabulous about keeping things well stocked. But I had been wanting to get over to Holly Grove for forever, and just never made the effort to really do it. And so I was really glad that I finally did, because now I don't think I'll stop going there. I mean, it's just going to be part of my routine now.
So what did you learn by doing this?
I was joking with my husband, because I told him, I was like, well, the coolest thing I think about this is that now I'll definitely be more ready to deal with a zombie apocalypse. Because I know what kind of food grows. I know what we can grow. I know what's in season when. I did lots of research of just finding new products and finding what is in season and when is this in season. And okay, well, I can't have that because that's not until the fall. So I felt like just as a learning experience, it was invaluable. Just to be more connected to the community, more connected to your food. I mean, I've been watching so many food documentaries and TV shows just because I found it so interesting. And there was a documentary from two middle school age girls in New York, and they the whole premise was that they went to their family friend's farm or whatever and had this meal, and they were like, oh my God, these tomatoes are so good. I've never had a tomato this good. Where did it come from? And they were like, oh, I grew them. And so that kind of sparked where does our food come from? Where do our school lunches come from? And so it was really interesting to see kids 12, 13 years old going through this whole same experience. What can we get that's nearby?
Right.
And they did this whole map of this grows here and this grows in Africa and this grows here, and they did the kind of charts of how this all connects to New York, and they had like the little pictures of smog everywhere, and it was really interesting. And I thought it was so funny because here are these middle school children learning this lesson, and I'm learning it at the same time. This is what I'm doing, and I feel like just the learning experience has been invaluable, and it's been infectious too.
Right.
So I've talked about it with my friends and I've talked about it with my coworkers, and they've all started thinking about it too. And they were like, "Oh, Aryanna, I thought about you this weekend because I went to the farmers market and I made myself a local meal and it was really good." And so I think it's definitely has this spreading effect where even though there were only maybe 300 people that actually signed up, there was this second tier of people who were also thinking about
it.
And learning from what we're doing.
Right. Based on your experience, I mean, if more people wanted to start eating locally, are there things that you think need to change about our food chain? I mean, based on things that you weren't able to find, or how would any thoughts on how our food system might need to change to accommodate more people wanting to eat locally?
I feel like the biggest obstacle was convenience. And so I'm very much like 9 p.m. shopper. You know, that's when I go to the grocery store because it's like, oh, I've had time to go home and cook dinner and see, okay, this is my list, this is what I need, and then go to the store. And I like going in that hour before they close because it's really quiet and not too many other people. But doing this, that wasn't really possible. If you want to go to the farmers market, I mean, they're all during the daytime or on Saturdays.
Right.
So if you can't go during those times, well,
right.
You know, and that, Holly Grove was really my biggest resource. And when I could get to the farmers market, I could get to it, and when I couldn't, I couldn't. And so that was definitely the challenge. You know, Rouse's was really, really great, but you know, they didn't have everything either.
Right.
So their produce, they had some really, I mean, the sweet potatoes are always delicious, but they don't have a big selection of produce. And so that was the hardest part, was convenience, you know.
And what about if you were going to do this next year? What would you do to prepare for it? What would you do differently?
I'm definitely already thinking about canning and preserving. I mean, that's my big project for next year. I have lots of stuff growing in my garden at home. I've got grapes, I've got figs, I've got Meyer lemons, I've got another lemon variety, I've got satsumas, I've got quite a little, you know, garden going, and not having lemons was hard, and so that's definitely going to be one of my projects, and even like picking up extra things at the farmers market during the winter. Anything that I can and preserve, I definitely want to be able to do. And the other thing I want to do too is work on condiments. So I was really surprised at how many things I made for the first time. So shrimp and grits, I couldn't even tell you how many times. Never made it before. Crawfish etouffee, never made it before. Mayonnaise. I had always, I mean, I'm a foodie. Everybody always says, oh, it's so much better, you have to make it yourself. And I just never got around to it. And when I did, I was like, I'm never going back to the grocery store stuff. So I want to definitely think about, you know, ketchup and barbecue sauce and other just things that you don't really think about, but when you want them, you really want them.